Dear brothers and sisters, on Tuesday or recently, Pope Francis granted interview to the AP News uh, platform, and they talked about so many things, ranging from his relationship with Pope Benedict and how he died, and Pope Francis mentioned that many times when he had difficult times to make decisions, he always consulted Pope Benedict. Then he also talked about criticisms, the importance of having people to criticize you. He talked about that. He said that criticisms help us to grow. If you have people who criticize you, they are actually there to help you to grow. Then he talked about the priest who had problem. He said he didn't have any hand in that. I think Father Rupnik, I forgot the actual name. But the one that is buzzing the internet is when Pope Francis said that homosexuality is not a crime, but it is a sin. Now, what people hear mostly is that Pope Francis has said that homosexuality is okay. Pope Francis did not say that. It may be important for you to read the full version of the interview that he granted to the AP. Now, what did Pope Francis say? He actually said that it's good to make a distinction between crime and sin. And in my Facebook page, I intentionally posted that every crime is a sin, but not all sins are crimes. People try to explain that, but let us just put it in a simple way. Crimes are committed when we disobey civil laws. Sins are committed when we disobey the law of God. For instance, gluttony is not a crime, but it is a sin. But we know that there are many things we call sin, but they are not considered crime in the state. Now, the point of Pope Francis is that Pope Francis wants us to understand that the people who are homosexuals, that it's a condition, it's a human condition. Pope Francis wants us to love people irrespective of their shortcomings, irrespective of their weakness, irrespective of their limitations. His point is that we should love but not discriminate against people based on their human condition. And he says that it's actually a sin not to be charitable to people. So if anyone is trying to, to discriminate against someone because the person is a homosexual, Pope Francis is basically saying that it is against charity, and any action against charity is a sin. But let us get this very clear that Pope Francis did not say in the name of the church that homosexuality is okay. He never said that. But because the people have been waiting for this kind of statement, people have misunderstood him. People are interpreting what he said and what he did not say. People are taking the first premise and forgetting the second premise. Because the first premise that he made is that homosexuality is not a crime, but it is a sin. And that is the position of the Catholic Church, actually. Now, Pope Francis also mentioned that more than 50 countries that they criminalize homosexuality. And this is true. My country, for one. There are so many countries in Africa and in Middle East where homosexuality is a criminal offense. The point of Pope Francis is that we should decriminalize homosexuality. Now, he is not in any way saying that homosexuality is acceptable, because the Catechism of the Catholic Church, which I'm going to read for you in a moment now, tells us everything we should do. Even in the time of Pope Benedict, he wrote also an apostolic letter discouraging people from discriminating against people with this human condition. It has been the teaching of the church that we should not discriminate against anyone. After all, we are all sinners. Now, if you look at Catechism of the Catholic Church number 2357 up to 2359, you read clearly the position of the church on homosexuality. I'm going to read that for you at this moment, and I'm going to explain bit by bit, or just in general, just not to take your time. Homosexuality in 2357, homosexuality refers to relations between men or between women who experience an exclusive or predominant sexual attraction towards persons of the same sex. The church will never, and the church cannot accept same-sex union. Pope Francis did not say that. It has taken great variety of forms through the centuries and in different cultures. Yes, homosexuality did not begin today. It's as old as human history. But in our own days, it has taken different forms. You have LGB, whatever, whatever, and to the end. So it is increasing in different cultures. The church says here that its psychological genesis remains largely unexplained. How it started is quite unexplainable. Basing itself on sacred scripture, which presents homosexual acts as acts of grave depravity, the church accepts and teaches that it's an act of grave depravity. Act of grave depravity. Tradition has always declared that homosexuality acts are intrinsically disordered. This is one thing that the church continues to teach, and the church will never change this. It is an intrinsically disordered action. It's not normal. It's a disordered action. They are contrary to the natural law. Homosexuality is contrary to natural law, because God made us male and female to share that love, and through the sharing of that conjugal love, procreation takes place. But if a man is sleeping with a man, a woman is sleeping with a woman, what will come out of that? Just pleasure. Nothing comes out of that, because a man has no uterus. A man cannot bear a child. It's not possible. They are contrary to natural law. They close the sexual act to gift of life. Sexual action should be for procreation, for the creation of life, for the gift of life. They do not proceed from a genuine affective and sexual complementarity. Homosexuality does not proceed from genuine affection. That's what the church is saying. These are not my words. I'm reading from the Catechism of the Catholic Church, number 2357. Under no circumstances can they be approved. This is where the church stamps the decision. Under no circumstances can homosexuality be approved. This is the statement of the church. Let's take the next paragraph, 2358. When you read this, you will know that Pope Francis did not change anything. He only said that we should decriminalize homosexuality. And he talked about bishops in those countries going through the process of change, a process of healing, in order to be inclusive, to accept the people with such human condition. Now, number 2358. The number of men and women who have deep-seated homosexual tendencies is not negligible. It's not something we can ignore. There are many already, which means that the church needs to do something about it. This inclination, which is objectively disordered, this is the second time the church uses that word disordered, which means it is not normal. This inclination, which is objectively disordered, constitutes for most of them a trial. It's just like a temptation, like each and every one of us experience temptation. But we have the choice either to fall into the temptation or to resist the temptation. Now, look at where the church talks about the pastoral care for people who are homosexuals. They must be accepted with respect. This is what the church says. It's good we take time to read this. Catechism of the Catholic Church number 2358. The people who are homosexuals must be accepted with respect. This is the point that Pope Francis is trying to make. They must be accepted with respect, with compassion and sensitivity. They must be, the word is must, M-U-S-T. They must be accepted with respect, compassion, and sensitivity. Every sign of unjust discrimination in their regard should be avoided. Any kind of discrimination against them must be avoided. These persons are called to fulfill God's will in their lives. And if they are Christians, to unite to the sacrifice of the Lord's cross the difficulties they may encounter from their condition. You see, homosexuality is a human condition. It is a disordered action. Now, what the Pope did not explain is practicing homosexual and being homosexual, because they are not the same. That is the next thing that we will expect the Pope to explain. Is it a sin to just be a homosexual, or is it a sin when you practice it? If you have comments, please, you can leave your comments under this video. Number 2359. Homosexual persons are called to chastity. They are called to holiness. By the virtues of self-mastery that teach them inner freedom, at times by the support of disinterested friendship, by prayer and sacramental grace, they can and should gradually and resolutely approach Christian perfection. So we are all called to holiness, including the homosexuals. So, dear brothers and sisters, this is the teaching of the church. It's not Father Eva's teaching. The church says that we should accept them, respect them, be compassionate to them, and be sensitive to who they are.